Okay guys, so I have a very interesting video here. I'm going to go over my blood work from this past week. And whether you're natural or whether you're on gear, this video is going to have huge takeaways for everybody. So this is probably one of my favorite videos that I've ever made. There's a lot of things to learn from this. So like I said, whether you're natural or whether you take all the steroids in the world, there's some big takeaways that everyone's going to be able to get from this, which is why I find this so fascinating. And I have gotten a lot more, I've gotten blood work a lot more often as of late, and it's led me to find some interesting conclusions. So let's go through my blood work here. I'm going to go even through past blood work panels. The first one, August 27th, 2014. This is when I was just on 250 milligrams of test enanthate, cruising for a year. I did 250 milligrams of test enanthate for a year. My HDL was 37, my LDL was 126. So 126, I was also eating very healthy at this time. I was eating extremely healthy, just on a little bit of 250 milligrams of test. This is the lowest my LDL has ever been in blood work, 126. And what happened, this is one thing most people don't know, the LDL standards went from 119 and below to 99 and below now. So this happened a few years ago. This blood panel, normal LDL was considered 119 or lower. Now they've changed it to 99 or lower, which is virtually impossible. It is possible, but I've rarely seen it. I've seen it in like one person. Most people not on steroids and who eat pretty well are like 120. This is just from what I've seen. But I think they lowered it so that Big Pharma could push statins harder on people. Statins lower cholesterol. I think it's all a ploy where Big Pharma is trying to push statins on everybody. And knowing how rare it is that someone's going to have an LDL below 100 unless they're a vegetarian, I think that's why the LDL standards were lowered 20 points. So when you see LDL is flagged high, a lot of times it's not as big of a deal as you think. And I talked about this with Stan Efferding. They're finding it's not as big of a thing with heart disease anymore as far as LDL. So take it with a grain of salt. Like, I still think 120 is a great LDL level. If you can get it lower than that, more power to you, but it's extremely rare. And I mean, comment below if you have an LDL lower than 100 or if you're below 120 even. That's interesting. My triglycerides, this was 2014, were 105, which is pretty high, I think. It's not high, actually. Triglycerides got bumped from like 115, they bumped those up to 149. So it's interesting, triglycerides were changed on the other end of the spectrum and they raised the standard. So it used to be like anything over 115 was considered high. Now it's anything over 150, 149 is considered high. So that's an interesting little caveat. Triglycerides were 105. Interestingly enough, this was no estrogen block or anything. Estradiol was 150. So that's picograms per deciliter. At its high as crap. And then another thing, total testosterone. This was a blood panel where it didn't show the testosterone if it was above 1500. So on 250 milligrams of test, testosterone was over 1500. This is something to remember for a little later. This is last year, March 2016, on some bunk ass trend. Hematocrit was 51.7. I typically am in the 51 range, which is right at the top level of normal. Anything over 51, I think they say is high. Hemoglobin 17.6. HDL was 31. So compared to 2014, HDL went down 6 points. LDL was a whopping, this is the highest I've ever had, at 209. So this was on trend. I don't know how legit the trend was. I think it was kind of crap. But still, LDL 209 is terrible. Meanwhile, interestingly enough, triglycerides went from 105 to 80. So triglycerides went way down, LDL went way up, HDL went down. Total testosterone level here, 3,200 nanograms per deciliter. 3,200, that's the highest I've ever had. This was on 750 milligrams of test. So things like Tren and other steroids do not show up in the test levels on blood work. So if you were just taking like Tren only, you could theoretically have a low testosterone level. But you totally screw your body up, so no one would do that. But testosterone is the only thing that shows up in the test levels. Free test was over 50 because it doesn't go above that. And then the highest my estrogen has ever been, 181.6, so even higher than 150. 150 is high as heck, 181.6 is even higher. Ridiculous. Blood work from this year. This is January 31st on 250 milligrams of, or I think it was Oh, I can't remember. 250 milligrams of propionate, I think. Test propionate. Hematocrit 51.8, that was a little high. I gave blood after that. Hemoglobin 17.3. Liver enzymes 51 and 57. So the thing about liver enzymes, guys, your liver enzymes will be elevated, and same with your any kidney functions, creatinine and bun. So creatinine and bun, AST and ALT. Creatinine and bun tie into the kidney functions, AST and ALT tie into the liver enzymes. So kidneys and liver. These will always be elevated to an extent after hard training. Even days later after hard training, these will be elevated. So take these with a grain of salt. Obviously, you don't want them to be crazy high, but anything over like 40 with AST and ALT will read high, whereas it's not that bad. Obviously, if you were at like 150, that might be a cause for concern, but always take the liver enzyme values and the kidney function levels with a grain of salt, as training, hard training, will always elevate these numbers even for days after. So this was January 31st of this year. Triglycerides were 99. Testosterone level was 1369. So 1369 on, I think it was 250 milligrams a test, is lower than when I was on the other 250 milligrams a test and I was over 1500. And the other one, free test was over 50, free test here was 34.9. So this is crappier testosterone basically. Meanwhile, estradiol was below 5, it wasn't even readable. So my estrogen was tanked because I tried some estrogen blocker, Arimidex, and it was way overdosed and tanked my estrogen. So I don't take estrogen blockers at all anymore. I never take estrogen blockers, period. I never will. I think they're bad for you. They kill your joints. There's some ties to them actually being bad for your heart and your health now. So I'm against estrogen blockers 100%. I will never take letrozole or Arimidex or Omicin, nothing, no matter what I'm on. I don't run crazy high test dosages either, so I don't really need it as much. I never go over 375 milligrams a test, even on cycle, so I don't need an estrogen blocker. I don't use them. Meanwhile, last blood work, my TSH, which is your thyroid output, was 4.7, which is pretty dang high. So what this means is, it's not that my thyroid is functioning well, it's that my thyroid is functioning poorly. I've never taken any thyroid medications, but hypothyroidism, slow thyroid, aka, runs in my family. So I think I've had fatigue my entire life. And if you always have fatigue, if you're always fatigued, you always have a hard time staying awake, a lot of times this can be hypothyroidism. So I think given that hypothyroidism runs in my family, and my sister has been prescribed Synthroid, which is T4, I think that I have a degree of hypothyroidism. So that's why my TSH was 4.7 and why I've had fatigue my whole life. Like I could barely stay awake in class in high school or in college. No matter how much sleep I got, I could barely stay awake. I could barely keep my eyes open. So I really think I've had hypothyroidism my whole life, and to a small degree, and I just didn't realize it till now, because that TSH is pretty dang high. So now we're getting to the good stuff. This is the most recent results from this week. I am on 125 milligrams of testosterone, aka sustanin, and here's what we got. Here's the findings. So this is interesting, guys. My last blood results from January, I was eating very clean, no red meats. I was eating chicken instead of red meat. I was eating vegetables every day, fruits. I wasn't eating any junk. I was on tons of supplements. I was taking upwards of 35 pills a day of over-the-counter supplements, fish oil, stuff like that, all sorts of things. So think about that. That last panel, let's see here. I think I skipped the part. So on that last panel, when I was eating perfectly clean, I think my LDL, okay, here it is. This is the results from 3 months or from 4 months ago, eating perfectly clean, taking all of a million over-the-counter supplements, doing cardio, hit cardio 4 days a week, and on 250 milligrams a test. My HDL was 47. Well, guess what, guys? I have been eating nothing but garbage. No, that's not true. I haven't been eating nothing but garbage. I've been eating a lot less strict, a lot more lenient. So I've been eating eggs every morning, 3 whole eggs. I have macaroni at some point every day. I always eat butter every day. I eat cheese every day. I switched from chicken to red meat, ground beef. Eat a pound of that every day. I'm trying to think what else. I stopped taking olive oil. So I've been eating butter, cheese, ground beef, macaroni and cheese. I have like either chips or ice cream every day. Sometimes I'll have an entire thing of ice cream in one night. just eating kind of more loosely. Like I still get all the protein in that I need to, but I haven't been eating the vegetables. I've been eating pretty freely, not as bad as I used to, where my entire diet was junk. But after I get the protein in, I've eaten whatever I wanted: chips, chicken pot pies, ice cream, sorbet, and mass quantities, cereal, whatever I want. So I get the protein in, eat whatever I want, and get this. So from going, and I'm not doing cardio either. I'm not doing any cardio, and I'm taking no supplements. I took no supplements, no over-the-counter supplements coming into this blood work, not one. So I went from 35 pills to none. I went from cardio to no cardio. I went from eating really clean to not eating that clean and eating tons of cholesterol in my diet. My HDL went from 47 to 60. Just blew your mind. Question everything you've ever heard. And this is where guys say, like Stan Efferding, dietary cholesterol is not a big deal, and red meat is perfectly fine for you. So I ate way worse, stopped doing cardio, and stopped taking all those over-the-counter supplements, and I went from 47 HDL to 60, which 60 is phenomenal, 47 is good. Explain that one to me. And then, so basically my HDL, my good cholesterol, went up 13 points, doing the opposite of what a doctor would tell you. Then my LDL went from 169 to 148. So I dropped my bad cholesterol 21 points after I stopped taking all those supplements that were supposed to help me, and I stopped doing cardio, and I started eating a lot more freely and eating tons of fats and cholesterol. So explain that one. Triglycerides went from 99, let's see what they were at here, I forget off the top of my head. So triglycerides also went from 99 to 97, so that kind of stayed the same, but my cholesterol improved dramatically, dropping cardio, not eating vegetables, eating tons of fat, and eating tons of dietary cholesterol, and stop taking all supplements. There you go. Just everything you've ever learned is a lie. Now we're going to get into the TSH. TSH, I've been very hungry, so I knew my thyroid was functioning a lot better. TSH went from 4.7 to 3.3. 3.3 would still be considered, it's in the normal range. The normal range goes up to 4.5, but some people would say that's still too high. You want to be about 2.5. So this is again where I go back to, I think I have some hypothyroidism in my family, and with myself. Now here's where the fun begins. So 125 milligrams of test per week. My testosterone level was 206. Good Lord, that's horrible. That's below the normal range, which is 264. So I've basically been less than natty. I've been worse than natty. I actually talked to a guy today, my friend Jack, and he's off cycle. His test is in the 400s. So on 125 milligrams of this garbage testosterone that I had, I was at 206 total test, and that my free test was 8.5, which is also below normal. So these are terrible numbers. This explains why everything felt so heavy lately. Everything felt really heavy in the gym. And I'm just amazed I almost pulled 851 with a 200 test level. I really don't understand it, but it's remarkable, and I'm very proud of that. Estradiol, this is no estrogen blocker, 18.4. And then IGF-1 has always been about 150, 160. It's just always been in that range. Tren is supposed to send that through the roof. When I was on Tren, it did not, and I think the Tren was kind of bunk. So there you go. All this gear I've been taking for like the last year has been crap. And I think that's part of the reason I've had some struggles for the last year. But very interesting results, guys. So what you see here is my test has been bottomed out, and that's why my bench has been poverty lately. But the big takeaways from what I've gone over here, you have to question how much over-the-counter supplements work. Beyond protein powder, creatine, pre-workout, is any of that stuff, any of those pills actually doing anything? You have to wonder. I actually got prescribed a protocol by a guy who I sort of know. I know him more online. His name is Alex. If anyone wants the Alex protocol, you're gonna have to contact him, because he doesn't want me to release it. He's got this protocol for lowering LDL and triglycerides. So my HDL is phenomenal, but he has this supplement protocol that he thinks will work. He says has worked. He showed me blood results. He actually had a 98 LDL. So if you want that, you got to go through him. But he just was doing me a favor. But here's the thing: I'm going to try some of these supplements and see if they work. One of them is niacin. Niacin has been proven, I guess, to help LDL cholesterol levels, so I will give that a try. And there's a bunch of other ones in there. But you have to wonder, how much did these supplements work? Because my blood work improved dramatically when I stopped taking 35 pills a day to 0. So what does that tell you? You know, guys, it's like vitamin D3, creatine, protein powder, pre-workout. What else do you need? You have to wonder. The other thing, this goes to show that eating dietary cholesterol is not the culprit for cholesterol blood levels. So I went from hit cardio 4 days a week on the Stairmaster, very intense, to no cardio. I went from chicken to a pound of red meat every day. I went from healthy diet with fruits and vegetables every day to no fruits and I eat fruits. Oh, actually, I eat a lot of fruits, but no vegetables. And then I also added in butter, cheese, macaroni and cheese, red meat, like I said, and then I ate a bunch of ice cream and chips. And so my cholesterol got way better after that. So again, don't listen to this garbage about dietary cholesterol being bad for you. It's not necessarily the case. Take that with a grain of salt. The other thing, you got to understand, your gear might not be good quality. If your gear is bad quality, the blood work will show it. And a lot of guys, you don't know where you're getting your gear, so this could be crappy gear, and you have to consider that. If you don't have good gear, you're not going to perform up to your capabilities. So that's another danger of going on stuff. So those are the major takeaways I wanted to go over. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, upvote, please subscribe. All that stuff helps me. I'm going to blow this channel up. Like I said, a lot of good content coming. We're keeping it real day in and day out. So tell your children, have them watch this for life lessons. Share with your family, share with your churches, everybody. Blow the channel up, because there's good messages here, guys. So those are the major takeaways. Someone asked about LH and FSH. Well, obviously, because I've been on things over the past like 6-7 years, I have like no FSH or no LH. It's like 0.1 for each of them. So if I wanted to get those back, I'd have to do HCG, HMG, and Clomid to get my body going again. But big things here. Another thing, estrogen blockers, aromatase inhibitors, you don't necessarily need them. I wouldn't recommend them. You don't want your estrogen to get too low, because you're going to run into more problems. You cannot get an erection if your estrogen is bottomed out. Seriously, it's impossible. So if your estrogen is tanked, you're going to have no libido. You're not going to be able to get an erection. You're done. I don't recommend estrogen blockers for that reason. That's another thing. I think that's the major things, guys. LDL this time around 148. People are going to say, oh my God, that's so high. Well, the standard used to go up to 119 or lower, so it's really not terrible. It could be lower, and I'm going to get my LDL lower, but it's not something to freak out about, especially when my HDL is 60, which is phenomenal. I had an IFBB pro bodybuilder say he's never had his HDL that high, ever. So this just goes to show, guys, a lot of lessons to be made here, to be learned. Don't abuse things. Be smart about what you're doing. Get your blood work done. By the way, people were asking this. This is the Private MD Labs. Private MD Labs is where I order my blood work. I don't go through a doctor. I pay for it out of pocket. This test was $130. This is the test I normally get. It's called the Unisex Hormone Panel. So find the Unisex Hormone Panel, Private MD Labs. Use the coupon code RHINO. Stan Efforting, it's his coupon code, gets you like 20 bucks off. So normally this panel is $150. With the coupon code RHINO, it's $130. So a lot of good stuff here. That's out-of-pocket blood work. Don't deal with doctors who don't know what they're talking about, who will tell you, don't eat dietary cholesterol, it'll make you so unhealthy. Meanwhile, your cholesterol levels improve dramatically eating ice cream and cheese and butter. So that's all I have to say. I'm out, guys. Appreciate it.